So again, I'm Carl Battle. If you recall, I am a retired chemist and lawyer. But today we're going to talk about the world of finance and money. You're going to hear about how to take control of your finances, because taking control of your money and your resources you'll find is fundamental to your overall success. Much in life will depend on money. And careers in finance will certainly offer you an opportunity to understand financial strategies and planning and to be successful. If you recall, the last time I met with you, I emphasized the importance of having an open mind and being exposed to as much as you can, particularly career-wise. And remember I said, the mind, once expanded by a new idea and new information, never returns to its original shape. It keeps getting bigger and bigger. So today we have two great speakers from PNC Wealth Management, who's going to walk you through the nuts and bolts of the world of finance. We have Scott Merritt and Brad Goddard, who will have a lot of important stuff to say to you about finance. I think you're going to enjoy it, so pay attention.
My name's Brad Goddard, and I have the pleasure of working with Mr. Scott Merritt. We're going to talk about, how those of us in the investment business, the finance business, how we help guide our clients and help them to make money. We're going to talk about the jobs that are available in the business of banking and investments, how to prepare for it. If something that we say to you today kind of plants a seed and you say, that sounds interesting. How do I prepare for this? But also we're going to talk about how to prepare for the world in general, no matter what path you choose. And lastly, some ideas about education and what kind of decisions you can be making there. But before we do that, let's make some money. I'm going to pass out some $100 bills here, some Benjamins, with the names of companies there. Almost every one of these companies you will be familiar with. Because I wanted to choose companies that you're saying, heck, I bought their slides yesterday, or I've got a brand new Apple Watch, or I went to Chipotle yesterday. Because I want you to realize that the investing world is something that's all around you. New ideas are everywhere. Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3 more for the back row. Here you go, gents. Okay, so now that you got these $100 bills, this is the game we're going to play. This is the exercise. Okay, eyes on me. So you get this $100. Most of you probably are around 14, 15 years old, right? So 14 or 15 years ago, let's go back in time, and you invested in these companies. $100. No, that's real money, but it's not an incredible amount of money. And what I'm trying to get across to you now is investing is not something that old people do on their own, just like, 50, 60, 70-year-olds. Yeah, they invest. I want you to walk away today with the idea and the excitement that ideas and what to invest in companies that are doing really interesting things are all around you. I'm taking a look at your jersey. You've got Nike. Who's got Nike out here? Right? No, I'm sorry. Nike. Well, that's cool. That's the story right there. But Nike in terms of from the investment. Who's got Nike on their dollar bill? All right, you do? Okay, so let's take a look. What do you think Nike was worth? If we went back in time 15 years, when Nike came out of Beaverton, Oregon, one guy, Nike had 3 types of shoes, period, end of story. No clothes, no sporting goods, no nothing. Just nothing at all. They were the first company to create global supermarket branding and stars. They were the company that signed with Michael Jordan. They were the company that developed Bo Jackson. If you haven't heard of Bo Jackson, he's the greatest athlete that ever lived. Second. Oh, who's first? Well, when I say greatest athlete, all around. He played baseball and professional football in the same season and got into the Pro Bowl and the All-Star in both sports. It's pretty impressive. But Michael Jordan's pretty good too. But anyway, Nike, if you put $100 into Nike 15 years ago, how much money do you have right now? If you took that, this is the principle of investing, $100, and it's now 2017. What has that $100 grown to if you put it into Nike? Let's take a guess. I know I'm putting you on the spot. Like 2,000? Anybody want to throw out another guess? $5,600. $100 in Nike. That's what it's grown to. And you're going to hear Mr. Merritt talk about this more. It's not so much how much you put in to your investments, but the amount of time that you give to this investment to grow. And guess what? As ninth graders, you've got a tremendous runway for life. So you have easily 50, 60, 70 years to be part of this world around you to invest in. So think about that potential. Just starting off, $100 grew to $5,600 in 12, 15 years. All right, who's got CarMax? CarMax, all right. They completely changed, fundamentally changed the way the used car market was. Used to be in the old days, you have to go to the used car market and just go from place to place and you didn't know about the quality. CarMax actually changed the landscape and became a national company where you could walk in and get a used car and have the same experience whether it's in Philadelphia, Florida, or Denver. They were the first ones to assemble a used car delivery. So you were smart, you invested in CarMax. How much do you have now? You put $100 in 15 years ago and now it's worth how much? $5,800. Pretty cool. All about the idea of just used cars. Here's a surprising one. How about McDonald's? I shouldn't say surprising, but I mean cheeseburgers, French fries. You got McDonald's. That's where we ate for lunch today. I used to call it the Golden Rainbow Room when I was your age. I mean, that's what I would call it. So McDonald's, you put $100 in. How much is that McDonald's worth now? I like the fact that you're so specific, but it's worth $2,400. Dang, that's still pretty good though. That's still pretty good. Okay, who's got Under Armour? Anybody have Under Armour? I gave that to you on purpose because of your slides. Under Armour was started by a college kid. He went to University of Maryland. Anybody watch University of Maryland football? They have like some pretty tricked out stuff. That's because Under Armour, he is their sponsor because he went to University of Maryland. Same thing with Nike at Oregon. Absolutely. Nike gives all their coolest gear to Oregon and Maryland. So Maryland and Oregon have become these new laboratories for this new high-performance athletic wear. Those two industries created it. 20 years ago, folks, when I was in class, we had cotton sweatshirts, gray, and we had $35 Adidas powder blue sneakers, and that was as cool as it got. But now you got these two industries that change things. And I'm bringing it up because this is in your lifetime. So these are things and ideas that are all around you. So investing, again, is something that you can really relate to. It's the companies that are around. So therefore, Under Armour, you put $100 in. This guy worked hard. He sold this Under Armour out of his trunk. He went from school to school. His college roommate ended up being a conditioning coach at a local high school. And that was his first sale. That's where he sold his first bunch of Under Armour. And that's how it started. He got bigger, 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 went public. So you invested $100 in Under Armour 15 years ago. Actually, about 12 years ago. That's when they went public. How are you doing now?
7,000.
No, you're still at $100. It went up, and then it went down. Sorry about that. But I'm bringing that principle up because everything doesn't go up. I've been talking about some winners. That's why you got to have a balance. Because Under Armour, about a year and a half ago, was doing great. It's become a fashion item. And fashion items go in and out of fads. They're cool, and all of a sudden they're not cool. And folks such as you all stop buying it. It goes down. But that's why when you work with Scott Merritt and myself or any idea of investing, or when you become investors, you don't put it all on Under Armour, just even though it's like really super cool. You buy a selection of different companies you put together, like a great baseball team or a great basketball team. You've got guys who are shorter, who are quick, or good with their hands, who can shoot. You got the tall guys who can block it, and you got the forwards who just get in there and throw elbows. Everybody's got their own position and skill that they bring to the team, and you put them together. That's exactly what Scott Merritt does, one of the finest investment advisors in the country, to bring together different companies that complement each other, because you're going to have an Under Armour, but you're also going to have some good ones. Okay, who's got Apple? All right. How many of you out there have an Apple product in your product or in your knapsack or wherever, backpack? Probably Apple consistently in every one of our classes has the most impact and interaction with students of any product I've ever seen. It's absolutely incredible. So, Apple started by two guys. Quick side story. Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs started this company in 1976 in Steve Jobs' garage. He and Woz started to build a machine. Their first job was how to scam long-distance phone calls for free. They went to a local college with a machine that they sold to the kids for 20 bucks, took $2 to build this electronic machine, and you could plug it onto your phone in your college dorm room and make free long-distance phone calls. That was back in the old days before cell phones even existed. So Steve Jobs started off as being a phone pirate. But then he got legitimate. He started building computers. He took on a partner. This third partner kicked in about $500 to help out Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak for Apple. He got 1/10, 10% of Apple. So Steve Jobs and Woz own 90%. This other guy owns 10%. 3 years later, all of a sudden this guy says, I need some money. And Steve said, fine, we'll buy you out. How about $800 for your 10% of the company? Which then was big money because Apple was still being run out of its garage. All right? So the guy's like, $800? Sure, fine, I'll take it. How much do we think 10% of Apple would be worth now? Come on. How much? Billions. I like the way you're talking, but give me a number. Just say billions. 2.5. $80 billion. That's an 80 with a B, ladies and gentlemen. It is the world's most valuable company. It is the world's most valuable company by something we call market capitalization, its price. And you all are testimonies to it because all of you have a watch, a phone, a laptop, or all the above. And I'm guilty too. I got these toys myself. So anyway, so I brought that up. But another lesson about Apple, and by the way, your Apple, that was $100. Who's got Apple? $17,000 is what it's worth. Who had Apple? You had Apple. So you made $17,000. Good job. Something else interesting though, there's a principle there. That guy who sold 10% of the company back to Steve and Steve, that shows one of the important principles of investing. Don't invest money until you have other money set aside to take care of life's emergencies. So invest in yourself. You could all become investors, and we're going to talk a little about the paths to success. One of the first things you do is set aside some money to take care of 3 months, 6 months worth of living and support yourself. Because can you imagine that guy? He said, I need $800 so badly that he gave up 10% of Apple. And now he lives in a mobile home outside of Las Vegas. For real. And he was driving Ubers. And he says he's happy with his life, and I hope he is. But can you imagine saying, God, if I just held on to that $800, I'd have $80 billion. So that's a principle right there that I wanted to give you. And lastly, who's got Bitcoin? Who's got Bitcoin here? There you go. Who knows what Bitcoin is? Cyber currency. My friend, go ahead and give us a quick description. How would you describe what Bitcoin or cyber currency is?
Can't really describe it.
Well, give it a try. Is it money like this?
No, it's like. God, I don't know how to describe it.
That's my daughter's money. I just used it as a prop today.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll help. Okay, I'll help you, but it'll come to you. Cyber currency. Just think about it. 400 years ago, what did folks do? They used shiny stones and pieces of clamshell as wampum. Okay? Then people used gold coin. And all they could do, gold coin was heavy, tough to bring around. You can't conduct international trade with that, so they went to paper. Paper is issued by governments, US, Britain, China, Japan. Now, the next iteration, cyber currency, Bitcoin, exists on the internet. So it doesn't exist physically. It exists in an electronic wallet. But if you look up, if you go home and Google Bitcoin or cyber currency, I guarantee you, you will find it of interest somehow. Because, ladies and gentlemen, as you grow up, when you are parents and you are talking to your kids, they will see, Mom, Dad, I can't believe you had pieces of paper with numbers on them, and that's how you bought your Starbucks or your McDonald's. It just won't be here. So cyber currency is coming, something that exists on your phone, so to speak, and it's a currency that goes all around the globe. But anyway, back to you. Yes, question, ma'am.
Yes. So Bitcoin is a piece of paper?
No, Bitcoin is not a piece of paper. There are physical Bitcoins that are about this big. They're golden colored. They're not pure gold. But most Bitcoin does not exist in physical sense. It exists. You go on the internet, you get yourself an electronic wallet, and you have an account that's nobody knows who you are, where you live. It's total anonymity, but you will have 304 Bitcoin. And you can sell those, you can buy stuff with them. You don't have to go to a bank to get it. There you go.
What's the difference with PayPal?
Well, with PayPal, the difference with PayPal is that still is a company called PayPal. And you are using their money. That's like a credit card. That's like an online credit card. Okay. But this, so you were smart. About 8 years ago, you invested in Bitcoin. $100 worth of Bitcoin. You bought $100. What do you think her Bitcoin's worth? This is the most incredible piece of investing in the world. $100, and it's now gone to? A grand?
10 grand.
10 grand. Wrap your head around this, boy.
2K.
Well, that's it. Back then, now you're the magic. Back in 2010, okay, let's just say that, Bitcoin was 0.8 of 1 penny. So it was less than a penny to buy a Bitcoin. Now it is, pull this out, take a look. It is right now, as we sit here, $7,200 to buy a Bitcoin. So your to buy one. So your investment of $100 is now worth $60 million. And this is real. This is real. And I'm bringing this up, and I'm going to pass the microphone over to Mr. Merritt, because as exciting as that is, not everything's a Bitcoin, but you know what? That was done in 6 years. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the world that's coming at you. And as much as they're the Bitcoin, guess what? The train's left the station with Bitcoin. You're not going to be able to get in now and make 60 million. But guess what? There are other emerging ideas and companies just like Bitcoin that are going to be around what you all are doing and seeing. So therefore, something we can all do, we all can be investors. So keep your eyes out for these things. But some of the principles are very, very important, and they are all the same. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Merritt, and he's going to take us through what is it wealth management? What is it that we do? Why does it exist? What are the services that we provide to ladies and gentlemen and families? And what are some of the salary ways, some of the salary levels and the types of skills we look for, and probably a good story or two in there.
My job is to tell you about the wealth management business, what it entails, why we exist, what kind of jobs are there for when you get out of college, and you will get out of college, right? Everybody will get out of college, okay? Just write it down, memorize it, details to follow, how you figure it out, that's a whole different subject, but make sure it happens. When you get out of college, there'll be all kind of opportunities for you, not just in the wealth management business, but all kind of industries around the world. Because one of the points that I'd love to make to you and can make to you is that your world is changing dramatically. There's tremendous amounts of opportunity and adventure in it. That creates opportunities for me, because these opportunities and companies that are being created need investors to give them money so that they can accomplish what they need to accomplish, just like the companies that you were talking about here and that you owned. That's how they grew. And then the investor gets rewarded. My job is, when a person begins to have money of substance, they bring that to me and my colleagues, and we talk to them about what they're trying to accomplish in their lives with their money. And every single person is different. So everybody's plan and everybody's goals are unique to them, and it's our job to listen well and then accomplish with their money what they're trying to do. It may be their kids, it may be a charity that they're interested in, it may be that they just want it to grow so they can have more later. There's any number of possibilities. What does that mean for you after you get out of college? Because it will require, to get in our business, by and large, a college degree if you want to go somewhere. And there's plenty of great places to go. My comments, while directed at wealth management, really fit so many other industries as well. I will say this to you, that if I had enough time, I would show you mathematically why your generation, when you get to the working world, your generation of 60 years of working, or 40 years, or whatever it's going to be, that generation will create more wealth for the individual person than any generation in the history of the world. You are growing up at exactly the right time. The world is changing dramatically, and what you can offer is going to be products and services that are used around the world. So you can accomplish amazingly great things, and it's already started. So we're not waiting on you, but it's plenty there for you. If you choose to get in the wealth management business, which is the business of managing people's wealth once they have created it or are trying to create more of it, we have a whole number of different skills, and what I'll try to do is to walk through what the skills are and what the jobs are and what you need to do to be ready for it, and then what you can expect from an income standpoint if you choose whichever one and do the hard work it takes to get there. There will not be a shortage in our industry or any other industry in today's world of high-paying jobs for you to aspire to when you get out of college. But there will be a shortage of something. And anybody want to take a guess of what that shortage will be? Hand up or just scratching head? Scratching head. Anybody? What's going to be a shortage of? Well, I'll tell you because I want you to memorize this. There will not be a shortage of high-paying, great opportunities for you. There will be a shortage of people trained well enough to take them. So if you don't build the foundation and you don't have your math and your English and your communication skills down, you're going to look and see these wonderful opportunities in tremendously diverse businesses, ours included, and not be able to get it. And not because it's not there, but because the foundations weren't set. And that's a critical thing. And in the 9th grade in Sarasota, Florida, at Booker High, you can do something about that today so that you're way ahead of the curve. So let's say you choose to do it in my world, the money management world. One of the great things that I would say to you, and what makes it fun in my world, is that I get to look at all these companies that we were talking about earlier. So I don't look at just one, and I'm not managing just one. I'm managing whether the people should be in McDonald's, whether they should be in Apple, whether they should be in Google, whether they should be in Bitcoin, whether they should be in Under Armour, whatever it may be. And the new companies that are coming towards us, and they're coming very fast. The number of new companies being built in the United States and around the world is astronomical. So your future's bright. But here's the ranges here. You can become a client relationship person, and that's somebody, Brad serves that for us, who takes a family and he listens to them and says, okay, what are you trying to create? What do you want to do? How sophisticated are you about money? Are you prepared to do things for yourself, or do you need someone else to do it for you? And as they discuss their family, he then marshals what's needed at the bank for their particular family or personal need. And it's a very important job. I'll come back to compensations in a little while. Investments is my world. They bring in their money, they make the deposit, then I take over and my group takes over, and we invest the money. We make all the decisions, and so we make how much should go into this and how much should go into this, and what the configurations are, and the responsibilities are both humbling and exciting. It's exciting to manage people's money. It's humbling because you've got all their money, and their future, therefore, is on your shoulders. And so you better care a lot, and you better do your homework. And it takes a a good amount of education, and so math particularly, and English and communication skills, very important. Then we have computer and data experts who are downloading all kind of information for us to look at these companies, but also data on you and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish by certain ages, and so there's a lot of sophistication in that. We have the analysts who are behind us that are studying the individual stocks or bonds or countries or sections that we may be interested in for you and your needs. And then we have the support staff of people who help us with our reports and our reporting and the needs and servicing the clients. You can expect in our world that if you're in the support side of things, your starting salaries will probably be somewhere in the 30s, 30,000. You can grow through your career, and some can make $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year doing that. You can get into the professional side of the things which are managing the money or marshaling that particular client, and you are paid for how much money you are managing. So the more money I manage, that has an impact on my income, and the more money that is brought in or families that we serve creates an opportunity, and the real important point about that is that you are then responsible for how much you want to make. I'm not. I don't set and says you can only make X. If you want to work hard, you want to go out there and you want to get what's done, then your income will grow. And people in that particular type of side of the business can literally make hundreds of thousands of dollars and up. The other good news about it, I will say, is that we're an industry that doesn't care about your gender. I don't care if you're a girl, I don't care if you're a guy, I don't care if you came from a rich family, I don't care if you came from a poor family, I don't care anything about any of that. I only care about what's between your ears and your work ethic and your desire to get something done. So the good news to you here in the 9th grade is you're beginning to look at all these different things to think about, and there are plenty of industries that do this, so it's not unique to me. But what the modern world needs, in the old world, often it was who you knew and how you were connected and what your family did. Those days are gone. What the good news about today's world is the world is looking for bright, smart, energetic kids and young adults who have imagination and vision and want to accomplish what the world needs, the problems of the world, the needs of the world, whether that be medical or architecture or engineering or wealth management. So hopefully that'll be a very, very good bit of news for you. It does not matter anything about you other than your motivation and your intelligence and what you want to build and do. And you can learn any and all of this. I told the story in the last class because it shows the versatility. Once you know the principles of business and what are the practical things that you would need in the 9th grade, what can you do today to begin to prepare yourself? I would tell you to master your math class, because if you can't do math, then you won't know how to analyze the earnings of a particular company and decide whether or not it's a good company to invest in or a bad company. You can't do it. So you got to know that. So dive into that. You've got to know what Ms. Miller tells you about the fundamentals of what's being taught in here, because you've got to have those things, and it's just got to be foundational to you. You've got to get into your English class and read as much as you possibly can, because it's going to teach you not only the great stories that you're going to read and the ability to write. The biggest problem we have with people coming in to see us, even college folks, are often that they're very, very smart, but somewhere along the way they did not learn how to communicate well, both in writing skills and in speaking skills. And we're not going to stop and slow down and teach you. So if you don't have it, you're hurting yourself. So you got to learn how to do those things. Once you have those sort of things, then you come in, and then the principles of success begin to work towards you. Brad, what am I leaving out?
Well, geez, a couple stories. I don't know if you want to tell the IBM story or just anything at all. Well,
the principles of success, I'll tell you an IBM story because it's important. Once you know the principles of business, once you know how to build one business, you know how to build a lot of businesses. You just don't know that. But the principles of businesses are, unless it's the sciences, you're not going to go from running a bank to doing brain surgery. It's not going to happen, okay? But you can go from running one particular company to another particular kind of company. So I'm going to use this as an example, and I won't take a long time to tell the story. But there's a guy named Lou Gerstner, and once upon a time, not that many years ago, maybe 20, 25, IBM, greatest computer company at the time, was losing $7 billion a year. That's not good. And the board of directors said, we've got to find somebody to change things around. So they went looking. Along comes a guy named Lou Gerstner, and he takes over IBM. Now, it's the greatest computer company in the world, so take a guess. Somebody be energetic enough to raise your hand and just guess. Where would that guy come from?
What industry would
What-
they go
what
to?
industry? Where-
IBM. Where would you go to find somebody who can help fix your failing computer company?
You're trying. Apple be a great example, other than Apple didn't exist at the time. But something like Apple, that's what I would think. That's what that just seems normal, doesn't it? Well, think about this one. Lou Gerstner was the president of Nabisco Crackers. Crackers. Soup and crackers. Taking over the IBM. So now what audacity does a cracker guy think that he can turn around a huge computer company losing $7 billion a year? And what audacity does the board of directors of IBM say, I think we'll take a chance on the computer guy? I mean the cracker guy. You know, they would probably go to somebody like an Apple. But he convinced them, or they saw that he knew the principles of business and had been successful in the past, and that if he took those principles, he could interchange over. When he retired some 10 years later, IBM was making $7 billion a year. And that's my point to you, that once you learn and understand the principles of business, there are a lot of interchanging things you can do, okay? And it gives the world, it opens the world to you, because now you're able to look at a lot of things knowing that you can change from one industry to another industry. My business is able to look at all those industries that need your talent, and we get to invest in it. Another point, PNC has between 50 and 60,000 employees in the United States. Pretty big company, but we're not by far the largest bank. The big ones have hundreds of thousands. And we are looking for people to apply for these jobs. Back to my original point. We've got the job openings. We don't have the people trained to take the job openings. And that's why I come back to you and tell you that your future is tremendously bright. Let me stop here for a second before we go further. Any questions, thoughts, comments, something on your mind? You got to be thinking about some things you learned, some things you're scratching your head about, and some things that confuse you. So,
How do you become a happy, successful, fulfilled 20-year-old? Start when you're 14. Start now. And some of the things that Scott was talking about, all of that is within your control. Are you going to go out and find the next Bitcoin tomorrow? No. That's not the message of today. The message of today is there's so much that is within your control that you can do. And you don't have to worry about necessarily your background or where you're coming from. I didn't come from anything glamorous. But I just went out there, I did a couple things. I believed in myself, I showed some confidence. Mr. Swan taught a class earlier about having confidence in yourself and how to portray that. It is as simple as looking somebody in the eye when you shake their hand and say, nice to meet you, Brad Goddard.
Mario Evans.
Okay.
Nice to meet you too.
That was good. Good eye contact. Say your name a little bit more clearly so I can really understand it.
Mario Evans.
There you go. What a
Nice to
difference.
meet you.
Now, if I met you at a party, I would remember you, Mr. Evans, as somebody that had a good handshake, made eye contact, and that tells me you believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, and I'm a potential employer, how could I ever believe in you? First step right there, you just showed it. Good job. So when you're going out there getting ready for your first job, my daughter was 16. She didn't have any connections. She didn't have anything. I slowed down the car. I kicked her out of the car and said, go get yourself a job. She walked into a store. She was selling clothes. She wasn't going to do this for the rest of her life. But for 5 years, she showed up on time or early. She did what she was supposed to do. She was somebody her fellow employees could count on. Those are things that are in your control. It's easy in this world to feel like, well, I got a really tough thing going on, whether it's at home or the world or whatever. There's a lot of bad news coming out all the time, but you are in control of yourself. So the fact that the market is out there, the world is out there, as Scott said, there are companies who want to hire people like Mr. Evans, who knows how to shake a hand and look you in the eye and do and say the right things. That is the start. So getting a job because you're doing that for yourself. Then from there, when you start to get the first paycheck, you're going to build a budget. I know that budgeting and financial discipline is something that you all talk about. Good afternoon. That with this budget, it's really important to say, okay, I don't care if you're earning $30 or $90 or $100 a paycheck. Figure out step one, pay yourself. Invest in yourself. Set that money aside. Set aside $10, $20 and put that into a bank account. Rule of thumb I use that you should have 6 months worth of living expenses tucked away for that rainy day. So you're not like that knucklehead that worked at Apple, that was the third investor, that all of a sudden needed $800 to pay his rent and had to sell it back to Wozniak and Jobs and gave up $80 billion. So first of all, invest in yourself. Save some money. Then within your budget, have the discipline to say, with the rest of the money, you know what? Enjoy. Buy yourself something. Because you know that you've got a budget, so you know that, hey, I have said in my budget, I can spend $50 a week on myself. And when you go out and you spend that money on yourself, you feel good. A, because you earned it, and B, because you knew you could afford it. Very, very powerful. Very powerful. Then lastly, as you get older, you will start to get things in the mail, those credit card offers. And let me tell you, 90% of them rip up, shred, and throw away. But I am not saying debt is a bad thing. Using debt responsibly is very, very important and good and smart. You want to buy your first home, not too many people can go out there and write a check for $200,000 and say, boom, here it is. Or when you want to go out and buy your first car, used car, I might add. New cars are the worst investment you can make. Used car. A lot of times people say borrow, because when you borrow, you start to show that you're a responsible borrower. You're paying your bills on time. You're not borrowing an excessive amount, because there are these credit rating agencies out there that know everything about us. They know what you borrow, what you use it for, who you borrowed from, how much you've borrowed, and what your favorite color is. And guess what? If you build up a great track record, a credit history or credit score will affect your ability to buy your first house, to buy that car. It'll affect your ability to get insurance. It'll affect your ability to get a job. Because if you walk in and you talk to Mr. Merritt about a job, no matter how good your handshake is, guess what? An employer is going to look at your credit score, because they're going to say, if you've got a lousy credit score, how can I trust you with other people's money if you can't handle your own? But don't be intimidated by it. It's something, again, totally within your control. So you get a job, invest in yourself so you got some cash set aside, pay your bills on time, and then lastly, be aware of the fact that in the investing world, it's all around you. You can go out there and start learning more about types of companies in the future that's coming at you. It's a very, very exciting time. So I'm going to stop there and take a breath, because sometimes when we've talked about things at the end of the day, 3 things learned, 2 things that you wonder about, and 1 thing you're confused, we've got some really good things thrown at us during the day. So I was hoping that maybe somebody would be willing to say, okay, what'd you learn that you didn't know walking in that you're going to walk out with? Or something that you're still confused about or you'd like to hear more about? Did we touch on anything that you said, hey, that's kind of interesting? I know it's the last class today. Yes, sir.
Oh, when you said Under Armour fell down and I was only going to get 100, that's something I learned.
The fact that, yes, there is a risk to the business, or the fact that you thought Under Armour was so cool that it was. Yeah, it is interesting, because clothes, well, you know, Under Armour right there, Nike, Jordans, I mean, those are considered, those are fashion things. And fashions go in and out What was really cool 5 years ago, nobody wants. So Under Armour has been a little bit of a fashion item, and also, you know,
Good afternoon, Tornadoes. Got a couple quick announcements.
hasn't changed.
Don't forget to bring in your plastic bags and your food for the food drive and the plastic bags.
Are we
for
done?
Your first period teachers. Looking forward to seeing who can bring in the most stuff. Everyone that participated.
I'm gonna talk over him. Go ahead.
Don't invest money until you
Please meet in
have
Coach
other
Jackson's
money.
classroom.
Don't invest money until you have money set aside. Heck yes.
Also, all potential track and field
Risks
athletes
in the market.
and boys
Not everything's going to go up like Bitcoin. And make sure you got money for yourself. Those are two very, very important principles, gentlemen. Anything from the ladies? Ladies are the best investors in the world, by the way. Some of our best clients are women.
Cool today. Hope everyone has a fantastic
No?
Wednesday. Remember, there's no Environment Now Club.
Everyone
Not until Friday.
Say what?
Great evening.
Everyone will get a college. That's from Mr. Merritt. Details to follow. And again, that's totally under your control. It's difficult, but you can do it. If my son can get into college, anybody can. Okay. That's.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Church, amen.